Buried deep in the wilderness and forgotten by time, one lost mine was about to reveal its secrets, and Parker Schnabel was the one to crack it open. It started out like any other day, but it quickly turned into one of the most insane discoveries of Parker's career. Let's get into it. It all started with numbers that made everyone do a double take. Parker and his team were pulling gold so fast, it was hard to believe they were getting around 5 ounces of gold per hour. Yeah, per hour. And to put that into perspective, that's better than what they used to get even when they had 2 full wash plants working at the same time side by side. This wasn't just luck, this was record-breaking. Parker himself said, "This is the best cut we have ever run." And he wasn't exaggerating. It was that good 572 ohms. It's probably like 50 an hour. That's better than when we have 2 plants running. This is the best cut we have ever run. That is nuts, isn't that crazy? The gold just kept coming, and the energy on site was electric. Nobody could believe how smooth things were going. Every load of dirt brought up more glittering pay, more than anyone expected. The team had already crossed a major milestone, having mined over 1,000 ounces of gold. But somehow it felt like the story was just getting started. And they were right. As they pushed forward with their dig, something totally unexpected popped up. Parker and his crew stumbled across what looked like an old forgotten mine, a place that hadn't been touched in what seemed like decades. The entrance was partially hidden, and inside it was like stepping into another world. There was untouched ground gold still in the dirt. And the strangest part, it seemed like whoever had been here before left in a big rush. They didn't clean out the gold. They didn't mark the area off. They just vanished. It felt like time had frozen. Inside that space, the treasure just sitting there waiting for someone to come along and notice it. Naturally, Parker wasn't going to just walk away. He and the team got to work fast. They jumped in with full energy, hauling gold at a staggering pace. The pay dirt was rich, the work was clean, and everything seemed too good to be true. But as they dug deeper into the forgotten tunnels, something started to feel off. At first, it was subtle, just odd little things. Here and there they began finding strange tools lying around, gear they didn't recognize. Some of it looked really old and nothing like the standard stuff they usually see from abandoned sites. Then came the odd markings carved into the walls. There was something weird about it all. The air felt different, heavier. Somehow, the deeper they went, the more it felt like they had crossed into a place that wasn't meant to be disturbed. Some of the signs even looked like warnings, as if someone long ago was trying to send a message: do not dig here. But Parker's not one to back down from a little mystery, especially not when gold is involved. He trusted his gut, even if he was uneasy, and told the team to keep going. And then they hit it. The mine opened up to reveal walls lined with thick, gleaming veins of gold. Even in the dim light, the rock sparkled. This wasn't just any pay zone. This was a dream discovery. There were no signs of contamination, no mercury, no damage, none of the usual leftovers from old-school mining operations. Just clean, pure gold. Untouched, unspoiled, and unbelievably rich. When the final tally came in, it blew everyone away. 7,381 of gold. That's over 237 ounces, all from one forgotten mine. Total was 77,381. Applause. That is unreal. The team was stunned. Parker was speechless. The place was producing more gold faster and cleaner than anything they'd worked on before. But with all that gold came a growing sense that something wasn't right. As Parker looked around at the untouched treasure, he couldn't help but think back to a story his grandfather once told him, a memory that had always stuck with him. Years ago, his grandpa had an unbelievable gold day. He pulled 42 ounces in just one single day, a record in its own right. But then, just 4 hours later, everything changed. The dust settled and a strange sound began to rise from the ground. It wasn't the wind, it wasn't machinery, it was something different, something that no one could explain back. Then it stopped them in their tracks. And now standing in this mine, Parker couldn't shake the feeling. Was history repeating? They had no peripherals to fight. They weren't using million-dollar rigs, no fuel-burning machines roaring in the background. It was just them, their gear, and this strange haunting mine. They thought they were just digging for gold, but as the hours passed, it felt more and more like they were uncovering something that was supposed to stay hidden. The digging was almost too smooth. The rewards came too fast. In just a few hours, they had pulled out over 100 grams of gold, without even breaking a sweat. At first, it felt like they were winning big, but deep down something was off. It felt like they were stealing from history itself. As they kept working through the strange tunnels, the crew couldn't help but wonder, why had this mine been abandoned? Why had no one come back? If it was this rich, this clean, and this rewarding, why would someone just walk away and leave it all behind? Then came another twist. Parker started noticing how much waste rock was building up. More than expected, he figured. There were at least 5 tons of waste packed in, maybe more. Some areas were so dense, he said he ran into 8 tons of big solid country rock. That kind of rock takes serious effort to get through. And it made them wonder if this place was hiding more than just treasure. Even Parker admitted, "I don't know how long this is going to take. You've got a lot more waste in here than we bargained for, huh? I bet there's probably 5 feet in here at least of waste. 'Cause some areas down here, I've run into like 8 feet of that big coarse rock, right? Yeah. I don't know how long it's going to take you. You got a lot of gravel." And then just when they reached the part that should have been the richest zone, the spot that would make all the effort worth it, the team discovered something that made them stop cold. They weren't the first to find this place. There were signs, clear ones, that others had been here before. But whoever they were, they didn't stick around. They left quickly. And they never came back. While things were steadily looking up for Parker, the same couldn't be said for everyone else around him. Not all miners were riding the high wave of gold. One miner nearby had been working around the clock, pouring every ounce of effort, every last dollar, into a single desperate attempt to strike bedrock. Day and night he pushed forward, chasing a dream that seemed to run faster the closer he got. He'd banked everything, his savings, his reputation, even his future, on one hole in the earth. But that hole turned into a bottomless pit, swallowing cash faster than it ever gave back. Gold, no matter how deep he dug, no matter how many hours he put in the ground, stayed silent. It was a gamble with odds stacked against him, a gamble Parker understood all too well. He had been in that position himself. Many times he knew how easily everything could flip in this business, how one moment you could be celebrating, and the next you could be selling your gear just to make rent. He watched it unfold quietly. He knew better than to interfere, but that didn't mean he wasn't paying attention. Then came a twist no one expected. When Parker's crew began to clear out an old site for potential expansion, they noticed something strange. It didn't look like your typical abandoned mine. In fact, it didn't feel abandoned at all. It felt preserved, untouched, frozen in time. There were strange shafts cut deep into the earth, not in any modern pattern. They came across old holes and wooden supports, carved rock faces, and curious tunnels. Parker walked through them like a man walking through someone else's memory. This wasn't just old mining gear lying around. These were relics. See, you could see down the side of the pit all those old holes from where all the old miner shafts were. And these are all old-timer workings, the tunnels in the walls, markers of a forgotten chapter, a time capsule. One of the crew mentioned how these shafts, these tunnels, they're not on any of their maps. And that wasn't even the weird part. The rock formations, according to their most up-to-date geological data, didn't match what they were seeing. Underground layers of stone and soil didn't behave the way they were supposed to. Even the tools left behind were anachronistic, too advanced for the supposed era they belonged to. Something didn't add up. It was like they'd stepped into a puzzle, and every piece they turned over raised more questions than answers. But then there was something else, something that had been left behind. And it wasn't just gold or tools or forgotten maps. It was something different, something possibly more valuable than anything else in the mine. No one knew exactly what it was yet, but it lingered just beneath the surface, hidden in the shadows of a place that hadn't been touched in years, maybe centuries. Further downstream, miners had spent millions of dollars over the years trying riverbanks, moving thousands of tons of earth as if gold could just be scooped up like loose change. Some had hit it big, most hadn't. Every shovel load was a coin toss between fortune and failure. Parker had been down that road. He'd lost money, equipment, even friends to this ruthless game. But this site, it was different. There was a strange feeling to it, the kind of eerie silence that hums in your bones, as if the land itself had something to say, something it had been waiting to reveal for a very long time. Despite the strange signs and quiet warnings, Parker couldn't bring himself to walk away. There was something in his gut, an instinct honed from years in the field, that told him this place was worth the risk to his team. This felt like the dream they had all been chasing, a gold mine that wasn't just rich, it was legendary, a place so good, so promising that they couldn't understand why anyone would abandon it in the first place. But the deeper they dug, the more unstable the ground became. The soil shifted beneath them in unsettling ways. Walls of rock that should have held firm began to give slightly under pressure. It was as if something down there had been lying in wait, slumbering for ages, disturbed now by modern hands. Then finally they hit it, bedrock, the final barrier between speculation and discovery. If there was gold to be found, this was where it would be, and sure enough there it was, gleaming, shimmering, unmistakable gold. But not just any gold, this was the motherlode, more than anyone in the region had seen in decades, more than Parker himself had expected even in his most optimistic projections. It wasn't just profitable, it was historic. But it wasn't the gold that left them speechless, it was what they found buried alongside it, strange artifacts, carvings, markings in stone that didn't belong to any known mining operation, primitive yet precise, like messages left behind, not just by old miners, but by something older, someone older. Whoever had been here before, they weren't chasing gold, they had been building something, hiding something, and now it was exposed. Parker stood staring at the carved walls, unsure of what he was looking at. It didn't fit into any known category. The tools were wrong, the placement was wrong, even the depth didn't make sense. It felt ancient and secrets. Now he had a decision to make. He could take the gold, already worth millions, and walk away, pretend they'd found a rich claim and nothing more, leave the mystery buried with whatever else might be deeper still. Or he could keep going, keep digging, risk everything he had, not just money and machinery, but maybe even something more, to chase whatever this was to its end. He had spent his life in the dirt, carving out fortune one bucket at a time. But now, for the first time, he wasn't sure if the prize was worth the price. Because some treasures aren't meant to be found, some discoveries, they don't just change a man's fortune, they rewrite everything. And some mines, well, they're abandoned for a reason. After the discovery, the tension among Parker's crew was unmistakable. No longer were they simply miners working toward a shared goal. Now they were divided. Some of the crew argued that this find, whatever it was, needed to be reported immediately. It wasn't gold they were dealing with anymore. It was history, potentially groundbreaking, world-shifting history. The kind archaeologists spent their lives dreaming of. These artifacts needed proper care, had hidden its secrets for centuries. By now, Parker didn't even know what they were really digging for. Gold answers. Maybe both. The crew was worn out, but they pushed on, each man slowly realizing they were a part of something much bigger than just another gold rush. Still, one question never left their minds. Were they truly ready for what they might find? Weeks passed. Every gold flake they pulled from the mine only added to the stakes. But the mystery grew deeper. The artifacts they uncovered were carefully collected, even cataloged, but no one fully understood them. They raised more questions than answers. And just when it seemed like the season was ending, everything changed. They found something totally unexpected, a hidden chamber. It was sealed tight, untouched, and undisturbed. Whatever was inside had waited there for who knew how long. When they opened it, everything shifted. This wasn't just a gold mine. This was something ancient, something completely lost to history. In that moment, Parker had to decide: walk away, a rich man, or step into the unknown and uncover the truth buried far beneath the surface, even if it meant risking his life and the lives of his crew. By now, gold was almost an afterthought. This was about something more: discovery, survival, and rewriting everything they thought they knew about the land. But Parker had been rewriting history for a long time back when he first got into mining. It was a whole different game. Holding on to a mining claim during the gold rush era was already tough, but Parker and his crew started out with more heart than experience. Their first season brutal. They barely scratched up 15 ounces of gold. It wasn't even close to the kind of payday they had dreamed of. The harsh truth hit them hard. This life wasn't for the faint of heart. 16-year-old Parker has made almost $11,000 in just his first week. He's on track to make nearly $200,000 in his first full season as the boss of the Big Nugget mine. But instead of quitting, they dug deeper, literally and figuratively. They risked everything for a second shot. Slowly their grit began to pay off. They lost a claim, sure, but they didn't let it stop them. They bounced back by mining Quartz Creek, and this time they pulled in nearly 100 ounces of gold. It was the kind of haul that made the veterans stop and take notice. Parker wasn't just a kid playing in the dirt anymore. He was becoming a serious player in the game. Meanwhile, Todd Hoffman and his crew weren't slacking either. They brought in over 800 ounces, a massive improvement over their first-year numbers. But for Parker, this wasn't just about luck anymore. It was about planning, confidence, and knowing when to risk it all. The competition began heating up. Everyone was pushing harder, taking bigger chances. Parker, never one to play it safe, decided to aim even higher, and it worked. He brought in over 1,000 ounces, sending a loud message to the rest of the mining world. The Hoffmans came back swinging too, pulling in nearly 1,400 ounces in their best season yet. But Parker wasn't done. He kept climbing, eventually blowing past expectations with more than 2,500 ounces. At that point, the rivalry got serious. Mining wasn't just a job anymore. It was a high-stakes battlefield. Every decision could cost thousands. Every mistake hit hard. The amateur days were over now. Every ounce of gold was a trophy, every season a war, and Parker was winning. But this was just the beginning. With the hidden chamber uncovered, Parker and his crew knew their journey was far from over. The real challenge was just starting. What secrets would they find next? Would the treasure they sought be worth the risks they'd have to